I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here this afternoon. Today we're going to review the agenda items which will be addressed formally by the Board of Directors next Tuesday evening, September 20th at 6 p.m. right here at City Hall. I'm going to call upon our City Manager, Mr. Bill Burrows, to review those action items. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. We do have Gary Troutman here, with his President and CEO of the Greater Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce and Hot Springs Metro Partnership. He'll be delivering his August 22nd or 2022 Economic Development Report. And Gary.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the time. Good afternoon, everyone. Busy month in August. It's fitting he's here, but our airport director, Glenn Barentine, and I flew down to DFW on Southern Airways to experience that firsthand. Found we're better spokespeople for the effort when we're able to experience it firsthand. And didn't intend on mentioning this, but Stan Little, the CEO of Southern Airways, will be coming to Hot Springs National Park Rotary 2 weeks, Glenn? 21st. So I invite you all that would like to hear his presentation. That's at the Doubletree on Wednesday at noon that particular day. Steve Arison and Bill Salder, Cindy Myers, who's the president of the Hot Springs Board of Realtors, and I had a meeting on relocation. We're going to be working together to do that. Was proud of Steve for calling that meeting, and the realtors are more than happy to jump in there, as is the Chamber and Metro Partnership. Glenn Barentine also offered us tours of the airport, which we took our team there to take a tour from him. Great learning experience. Again, appreciate that Glenn gets that. Whether you're in Hot Springs, Little Rock, or New York City, the airport a lot of times can be the first and last impression someone has, in our case, site consultants of a community. So you hate to have a great visit for 3 or 4 days, put out your best foot forward, and they have a bad experience, a la Little Rock TSA, for example. So Glenn and his team get that and do a fantastic job. We had 2 project meetings, 2 separate project meetings with one company, one involving a special request for the city. Now finally formally on the Workforce Development Board, attending those meetings. We've been waiting for a spot to open up there for the last few years. Don Benton is with us this evening. He has had 3 calls with the State Chamber, our friends at Lake Hamilton, Donald Westerman and Amanda Porter, as well as Dawson Co-op, planning our draft day for April of 2023. So we're very excited about that. I think we've narrowed the list to 27 schools that we'll be inviting to that event. Attended the Southeastern Economic Development Conference a couple weeks ago. Good news is that all the jobs that we had lost pre-pandemic are back. The interesting news is they're not back proportionately. About 12 states have had significant gains in job growth, most of them in the Southeast and Texas. About 5 are flat, and several others have less jobs than they had before the pandemic. In short, the message was the states that tried to stay open during the pandemic are now flourishing in job growth. Took Don to visit to the Village POA Board meeting to introduce him there. We continue to have our our MSA group meetings with Malvern, Arkadelphia, and the Village. I want to commend you all for the Boring event. I mean, this is fantastic. The largest one in North America. But I would remind you all that haven't been, some of you that have, some of you that haven't been on the board that long, this probably wouldn't have happened years ago. I mean, this took a real spirit, took leadership among Bill Burrow, first off, for the tenacity to stick with this project for 13 years, but it took leadership on you all's part to actually work with all parties involved, community, county, to get this done. And it's just fascinating, and we appreciated being included on that. But, you only have to look to Jackson, Mississippi, and some other places and see what a concern water is. And we can all take solace, and I hope you all feel pride in knowing that our grandchildren's grandchildren will have water. So thank you all for that. I did tell you in past months that before Michelle left, she and Les Warren started a committee to us to get Hot Springs people recognized on the statewide stage. So Leadership Arkansas, we've had 4, a record number selected from Hot Springs. Don Gooch, who you all know, Dr. Sarah Brown from ASMSA, Ben Van Wagner with Oaklawn, and Tammy Browning with Trademark Real Estate. Mayor and Bill attended our trustee luncheon with our largest investors of the partnership. We continue to advocate for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Garland County, I'm pleased to tell you, is about 60% penetration in our schools, but we're shooting for 100%, getting books in the hands of those little minds, get them going. Had a groundbreaking for Citizens Bank. Obviously, you know why the group is here with me tonight. We've got a presentation. We've had a few meetings on the Majestic site. We look forward to talking to you a bit later. Personal challenge of mine has been leadership. Not real pleased, and we don't administer it, but not overly pleased with our leadership group locally. So we've taken upon ourselves to research. We've been to Conway. We've had Zoom calls with Jonesboro, Malvern, and Arkadelphia. We found some really beneficial findings there that we shared with the leaders here, and we hope to turn that around. I would mention to you, though, that a couple of folks you're about to hear from are 40 and 41. So we do have some young leadership coming to the top. I just think it'd be beneficial if we had a lot more numbers as a whole. Vicki Gillum and I attended the state chamber and executive economic development conference, and we heard from both gubernatorial candidates, Sarah Sanders and Dr. Chris Jones, both excellent presentations. We had a meeting with Mr. Elmer Beard and James Lacefield on racial relations between the chamber and the community. And the staff and I toured express boats and veranda luxury pontoons. Folks, I wish you could have gone with us. It's just amazing. You could put football fields in each of these buildings, and to see how they churn out. Express alone churns out 15 to 16 boats per day, and veranda is just phenomenal. And they are, I think you all realize, they're kind of the Mercedes of the pontoon boats. We worked with Judge Thornton, the county judge in Malvern, Hot Spring County, Representatives Les Warren, Rick McClure, Todd Green from our Metro Partnership, and my counterpart Lance Howell in Malvern about remediation of Jones Mill Industrial Park. Judge Thornton has made some tremendous strides in the last 90 days on that. We'd ventured to Arkadelphia afterwards, after that meeting at DeGray. Shelley Short, whom I told you was at AEDC and the State Chamber, has my position in Arkadelphia, so we're looking forward to the regional leadership, or regional partnership there in economic development. Finishing up, we had one other call, project call with AEDC, a new project. We met with a company, a regional retail operation, yesterday morning that is intent on putting in a location in Hot Springs, and you will like this one, I promise you. Might be a bit tasty. I'll just throw that out there. We hosted a lunch and learn on diversity, equity, and inclusion yesterday at National Park College. Really well attended. Appreciate Bill and Lance attending, and Minnie Lennox did a fantastic job as one of our 2 presenters. And we had a call yesterday on workforce education in Duncan, Oklahoma. They're doing exciting things there. So I'm sorry about the long report, but a lot going on this past month. Happy to answer any questions if you may have any.
Director Garcia.
I just want, my typical question, if I don't hear anything, is about the former Hot Springs Mall space.
Mm-hmm.
We heard for a while that something may be coming up there. Is that going to happen, or are there other opportunities?
They got that batting, baseball batting operation there, and it's nice to have a tenant. I'm sure the mall would tell you they have a tenant, but the 2 big retailers that they have been after for some time have not committed yet. So, we have to be cautiously optimistic, but it sure is moving slow, Karen. We'd love to see faster and more aggressive.
Have they looked at other options? A lot of them are outside the box for purposing some of the space.
Sure. I mean, I think an Amazon distribution center is probably would still be on the table. That's one thing. And at the SEDC conference, we heard from Amazon. They're just really drilling down. And that's we're excited, but it's sometimes counterproductive to local business as well. But I mean, they have got all kinds of distribution and last mile stations, so that does remain a possibility. And we have visited with the owner of the mall about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Gary?
I have a question.
Yes.
About maybe halfway through your report, you said something about not being happy with local leadership group. Is that actually like the Leadership Hot Springs program, or just
No,
feel there's good leaders in Hot
no,
Springs?
not that at all. And thank you for clarifying. Just the sheer numbers. We're seeing stronger numbers in towns. Jonesboro, Conway, towns comparable to ours, and. If we're being honest, sometimes the knock on the local program is, where are these folks going to be in 5 or 10 or 20 years? Are we really is this emblematic of the leaders that we hope to see in the future? So we just want to interject that. We have our Chamber Exec Committee would like to jump in, where we continually have a steady stream of folks from, let's say, CHI St. Vincent, National Park Medical Center, Oaklawn, all the manufacturing industry across town, instead of just trying to desperately find 18 people to fill the program every year. We're looking to make it more robust and add to the numbers. Not a knock on our young people, but we want to see more step up.
Gary, you mentioned in your report about a major retailer that is expressing some interest in our community. And I know that during the period of COVID, retail changed quite a bit, or perhaps what it was accelerated with everything over the internet type purchases. What are you seeing today as far as big box store retails or specialty retailers looking for brick and mortar locations? And is there anything that the city of Hot Springs needs to do to be more welcoming of these type of entities?
That's a great question. And you're absolutely right. During COVID, the numbers soared. It was mentioned at SEDC in San Antonio, there's been a leveling effect, and a lot of the times the online orders are supplemental to in-store purchases. But the slowdown has really slowed down. It's back to brick and mortar. I'm not saying that we're going to see it in the numbers that we have in the past, but I would say, and you're in on our meeting, so you probably know what I'm about to say. But with our tourism numbers, we factored in. We're not the MSA with 100,000 people. We're the MSA with 100,000 people that has 8 million visitors and 3 million overnight guests. So we have to add an asterisk to that. We also, obviously, since I mentioned the water's coming up in every conversation now. We don't have it today, but in about a year and 3 months, we're going to have unlimited water. So, we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but we are telling them that we want to plant a seed now, but we really want to talk to you a year from now when things get closer. And we are looking for, it's not what you asked, Mayor, but, we're also looking in that same conversation with the Board of Realtors and Steve Harrison, recruiting developers and contractors who can build a neighborhood of 200 and 300, not, 8 or 10 or 12. Because I could foresee with the unlimited water growth like we've seen in West Conway, that we've seen in Benton Bryan areas, things of that nature. But I've got 2 bankers with me. I mean, you can't walk in if you've built 4 or 5 houses and get approved for a loan to do a neighborhood that large. So we may be in a position where we have to go recruit some folks for specifically for housing.
As far as it relates to the city being welcoming, is there any area there that you see that we need to move towards?
No, sir, because you personally have been in a couple site visits. I mean, when we have the opportunity, the city is very good, as is the county, as are the hospitals, as is Oaklawn, the college, et cetera. I mean, I think we can compete with anyone when it comes down to the site visit itself. But no, I think you guys have done a fantastic job, and I think the water is just something that we can kind of shout from the rooftops as a signal of things to come.
Very good. Any further questions of the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to call upon our Planning and Development Director, Kathy Selman, to introduce our team that's with us this week that's working on our updating of the city's development code. Kathy?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce a team from Camiros Limited, Arista, Chris, and Daniel, and they're in the back here. We've had a very exciting day touring Hot Springs and meeting with our planning commissioners, and one of our directors was there as well. Want to let you know that you will be hearing from us to set up individual meetings so that we can get a good conversation going with you about your concerns about the development code. And I know Arista Strungis is wanting to talk to you for no more than 3 minutes about what our upcoming method will be on putting this together. And I'm really happy to be welcoming them here. They're everything we were expecting and more. Arista?
Wow, I love intros like that. Hello, I'm Arista Strungis from Camiros. I'm joined by Chris Jeanette, also Daniel Grinspan. And Camiros is a planning firm located in Chicago, Illinois. We've been around for about 40 years. I've been there about 25 years. I won't tell you the dates of well, no, you can figure it out. So you kind of know how old I am. And so we've been working with zoning all across the country, basically throughout the firm's existence. Personally, Chris and I have worked on zoning ordinances for Saratoga Springs, New York, Knoxville, Tennessee, New Orleans, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, Baltimore. So we bring a range of national experience to this project. We're very excited to be here. We did spend the day touring. It's been great. Your city is incredibly unique. I mean, it really has a lot going on here that we've never seen anywhere else. You know, we've been to Saratoga Springs. They've got a racetrack, but they don't have a national forest in the middle of the downtown. So we're very excited to start this project of updating and modernizing the development code. Just very briefly to outline the process, phase one is really just looking at kind of what's there, hearing from many different people, including yourselves, including the Planning Commission, including certain stakeholder groups of the public, getting their input, analyzing the code ourselves, and then bringing forth at the end of that process what would be a zoning assessment, which describes the approaches that we're proposing to take and to get feedback on those approaches. The next phases are kind of pretty logical for an ordinance adoption. Phase two is we would draft an ordinance and bring that forward to the public, to yourselves, to the Planning Commission, really gain a lot of public input. Typically many, many meetings. We do public open houses, we do public forums to really get input on that, create a second red line draft of that so that people can see where changes were made. And then finally after that, or hopefully after that, I should say, we move to phase three, which would be the public hearing adoption phase, which is how ordinances are done per state statute, which is the way it is everywhere. So I don't want to, it sounds fairly simple, that last phase, but really that is another form of engagement, both with the public as well as with you, the elected officials, and the commissioners. And so, like I said, we're very happy to be here. I'm happy to take any questions. This is the best part in the project where we're all friends right now. I love making that joke each time. But then we'll really start to dig into some more details. As Kathy indicated, we'll be in touch probably in a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks from now, to start to set up, if you're interested and would like to participate, some individual interviews. We'll be doing those virtually over Zoom, where we would just talk one-on-one, either myself or with Chris, about zoning issues and development code issues that you may have, so we can gain further insight into kind of what's going on here in the city of Hot Springs.
Any questions? Director Garcia?
In your description, I didn't hear you mention our 2040 plan. Is that part of incorporating that into this part of the draft and analyzing the code and incorporating that?
Yes, We looked at the policy, the adopted plans and policies of the city, and for you, it is the 2040 plan. That will be a key part of it. Now, obviously, the development code doesn't implement all of it, but it has a key role in land use and development regulation. So we are absolutely looking at that for policy direction, and you'll see that in our state, in kind of the analysis we provide at the end of this first phase in a few months from now.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you.
Okay, thank you so
Appreciate
much. Look forward to talking with you.
Mayor, following the agenda meeting today, the Hot Springs Metro Partnership and representatives will give a presentation regarding marketing the Majestic site. There won't be any action taken here today by the board, but following this agenda meeting, they will have a presentation during a board's work session. For the regular meeting on September the 20th, Sarah Richardson with the Literacy Council, the Executive Director of the Literacy Council, will be here, as well as a representative, guest of Director Garcia will be here for a proclamation of the Hispanic Heritage Month. So those right now will be your only two guests for the meeting September 20th. Moving into the meeting's agenda, your first item on the consent agenda is Resolution R22-138, a resolution acknowledging the receipt of the City of Hot Springs financial statements for July of 2022, and our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will present that item.
Thank you. Yes. In your packet, you will have the financials for July, and we will recommend that you acknowledge receipt of them.
Very good. Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R22-139, a resolution approving a contract with Redstone Construction Group Incorporated for the construction of airport drainage improvements Phase 1 in the amount of $453,320, and our Airport Director, Glenn Barentine, will present.
Thank you. Bids were received for the airport drainage improvement project Phase 1 on June 22nd. We received a total of 3 bids. Redstone was the lowest bidder. Redstone has done a lot of construction projects with us over the years, so we're really happy with what they've done. This contract will replace an existing pipe with 2 dual 48-inch pipes to hopefully move the water out of airport property onto the creeks. This project is funded 95% from the federal government and 5% from the state aeronautics, so there'll be no airport funds going towards this project.
Very good. Any questions of Glenn? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R22-140, a resolution awarding a bid to Coakley Company Incorporated for certain stormwater drainage repairs and improvements in the amount of $239,700, and our Public Works Director, Ron Seabright, will present.
Good afternoon. For these stormwater projects, we have 3 of them. The first one is on Skyway Drive. We'll be reconstructing the wing walls on that box culvert that's out there. Currently, they're wooden rails, so we'll be replacing those with concrete. And we're also going to be supporting one of the utilities. There's a sewer main that runs across that. The second one is a continuing project from an existing one. This is the last phase. There's a section of galvanized pipe which is deteriorated, causing sinkholes. We're going to replace that and construct a junction box there for cleanouts. The last one is on Mason Street. We're going to remove and replace another 42-inch deteriorated pipe and replace it with a new one and install a junction box.
Very good. Any questions of Ron? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consider Resolution R22-141, a resolution awarding a term contract to Gossley Construction Company Incorporated to provide new and repair work for concrete construction projects throughout the city, and our Assistant City Engineer, Mike Hill, will present.
Good afternoon. Yes, the staff recommends that we award the term contract for our curb, gutter, sidewalk, bus pads, and slabs to Gossley Construction. We had 2 bidders on this, and Gossley came out with the lowest overall contract prices. This contract will also be available to other city departments that may use this contract. Any questions?
Any questions of mine? Director Garcia?
Where and how much?
Well, it's a term contract. It'll be coming from 2 different funds. We have sidewalks and also have complete streets, but available funding is $439,202. but we'll be working on those contracts. It's not an overall lump sum, it's just as we do the work.
But will not exceed budgetary constraints.
Yes,
So it's all over the city.
it's all over the city, yes.
So this is a repair of broken up sidewalks
We're,
or
we're focusing.
catchers or-
Yes, we're focusing on our broken sidewalks. We also are looking to make connections where we have pieces just missing. And we're looking around schools, some individual mobility issues that we know they live in that area, and they've asked with, can we have some better sidewalks? We can't get in and out with our wheelchair. We're going to address them. So we have some high priorities, but we have a very long list of requests for sidewalks.
Well, thank you for being responsive to those individual requests. Any further questions? Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R-22-142, a resolution expressing the willingness of the City of Hot Springs to utilize federal aid monies to add a protective turn signal on Malvern Avenue at the Martin Luther King Jr. Expressway. And again, Mr. Hill.
Yes, RDOT has a new program they started this year where it's a 80-10-10 program, federal government 80, RDOT is 10, and we would be 10%. We've requested, because of the traffic issues, when school's coming out, we need that left turn lane off of Malvern onto Martin Luther King bypass. They did a study there, agreed that it was a needed turn signal. They've given us an estimate of $380,000, but they're assuming that everything needs to be replaced. So our part would be $38,000. In reality, many of those elements of the intersection will not be replaced. Will we expect it to actually be less than that $380,000 original estimate?
Any questions of Mike?
Can they add lights there also?
Oh, street lights or something? I'm afraid that's not part of
It's
this.
dark at.
Yeah, that's not part of this program. Yeah. It's limited to
I
intersections
understand.
only.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mike.
Next item is Resolution R-22-143, a resolution accepting a donation of certain real property from Spa Construction Company Incorporated for a future Southwest Trail. And again, Mr. Hill.
Yes, the staff is recommending accepting this. It's approximately 6 acres along Spring Street from Spa Construction, and it's for the future Southwest Trail.
What is
Any
the
questions?
length of that? I mean, you said 6 acres, that's,
Well, 6 acres, it's along, it's a section it's Gulf Creek, where Mill Creek coming into the spring gets real close. It's Gulf Creek. It includes that dam, if you're familiar with that area. It'll make a really nice, pretty area. I think the length along Spring Street is 1,656 feet along Spring Street. So it's kind of a block, and then it goes up and it runs along 25 feet along Spring Street, along Spa's property.
yeah, well, that's very nice of them, because that's a major project. That's
Yes, it's a
gonna-
big chunk of what we need to do for the Southwest Trail.
Yeah,
Is this an area that has a waterfall or some other feature there that?
It has that dam and waterfall comes over it. Yes, it's once we get it cleared out, it's going to be something really nice because there will be a bridge crossing there, and you'll be able to see that water coming over the dam when you cross that bridge for the trail.
That'd be nice.
very nice. Any further questions of
Would it
Director
be
Dobson?
appropriate to pull that and put it on the regular agenda, just because I think it's so nice that they donated that? I'd like to see them get a little recognition instead of just being
Very good.
kind of buried.
We only have 2 items under new business. That'll be the first of 3 then. Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R-22-144, a resolution approving a consolidated annual performance evaluation report, or CAPER, and authorizing submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Again, welcome back, Ms. Sullivan, to the podium.
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs was designated as a community development block grant entitlement community by HUD in July of 2003. As a requirement of that, the city submits every year a consolidated annual performance evaluation report called a CAPER to HUD that looks at the past CDBG program year. Hot Springs Community Development Advisory Committee considered the program year 2021 CAPER on September 1st and votes to recommend 4-0 to the board that this report be submitted to HUD. In brief, in program year 2021, the CDBG FY 21 allocation spent $40,000 toward projects listed in the fiscal year 2021 annual action plan and $104,398 toward past year annual action plan projects. And COVID and associated supply chain and other difficulties slowed down quite a bit the progress that we were helping to make on 2021 projects. The program year 2021 CAPER has been made available for public review and comment starting on the 28th of August, and that will end on September 20th. As of today, we have received no comments on that document. Should comments be received before your meeting or at the meeting, those comments will be included in the CAPER when it is submitted to HUD. The document in full will be available to you in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
Since we'll receive this report in our packet, if we had any questions, would it be okay if we had to move it to ask the questions or either get the answers before the meeting?
I'm sure we can provide the answers ahead.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Mhm.
Next,
you.
next we have Resolution R-22-145, a resolution awarding a term contract to Lake Hamilton Animal Hospital for certain veterinary services, and our Chief of Police, Chris Chapman, will present.
Good afternoon. So you may or may not know we're required by state law statutorily to provide animal services for our adopted pets, primarily spay and neutering services. An RFP was sent out for veterinarian services. We had one respondent. That was Lake Hamilton Animal Hospital. We recommend that we accept the term contract with them. They will utilize 2 clinics. Dr. Brian Peters actually owns both clinics. We'll utilize both of those clinics to service our animals for adoption and other surgical needs as they come about.
Any questions of Chief Chapman? Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mayor, under your new business, you have Resolution R-22-146, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 645 Fifth Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code, and our Chief Building Official, Mike Scott, will present.
Thank you. This is a single-family structure in District 3. The property is owned by Wade Nation LLC, who is in Sandy, Utah. The structure has received significant damage due to a fire in July. Nothing has been done. We've made contact with the owner and First Security Bank, who has a lien on it. We've received confirmation from both. So,
Very good. Any questions of Mike?
Next is Resolution R-22-147, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 230 Fraser Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. And again, Mr. Scott.
this is single-family residence located in District 2. The property is owned by Thomas Ridley. The Neighborhood Services had a file on this structure since 1998. It has major foundation problems. It's sunken some. It has termite damage all throughout, and the roof shingles appear to be original. So, and on this one, I had a question asked yesterday, and I apologize. I believe I answered it incorrectly. I believe the exterior is some asbestos and some roof shingles, but there is some asbestos on that. It also has broken glass in the windows, and Mr. Ridley has been contacted, and we have confirmation of that.
Very good. Any questions of Mike on this one? Were we not, did we not have something from the last meeting roll over to this one on condemnation?
It was going to roll over to the next first of the month.
Okay. Did we just have one item that was rolling over, or two items? Just one, okay, October 4th. Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, that completes your items for your September 20th meeting.
Very good. Immediately following the adjournment of the agenda meeting, we'll just take a moment to recue the mics, and then we'll have a work session. So there be no further agenda meeting business. We are adjourned.